My plan today is to draw, as I call it, Lottie's parlor, which is one of my photos which I took at Bodie, the ghost town in California, inside Lottie's and Joel's house. I love this chair, this old chair, the way it's sitting in the corner. And when I took a picture of it, I actually took 3 as an HDR, because I also wanted to see the outside through the window and also get everything inside correctly lit. I'm going to use that photo as a reference to make a drawing with pencils, and mostly water soluble pencils like these, plus some small brushes and some water. That gives a very nice like watercolory look to them. You can get nice gradients in gray. Then after that I will take a picture of it, print it on watercolor paper in black and white, of course, and then color that with watercolors. So there's several steps involved here on doing this, but let's get started first by making that drawing. Okay, so with the HB one, kind of want to go see where the middle is. Mark the middle of the paper. It's about here, I would say. And then the floor is a little lower. So I would say from here, go this way. And this way. I might not use the whole paper. And then the corner is right here. And then the top of the chair, I would say it's about here. The sides. Just want to get a global idea. Kind of get an idea where the chair is. I don't want to go too much into detail yet because I might end up all the way off the paper. So I want to make sure I'm in the right spot. Kind of where the front is. Kind of like that. And the other side. It's not completely symmetric. This part of the chair It's broken down. It's kind of hanging on the side here. This is a really dark area. And then here, there's some kind of brick supporting it. Kind of like that. Cushion in the back, and this is the wood part. A lot of ornaments on this chair. Could be a little bigger. This also doesn't look symmetric. Let's see, I'm gonna get, actually I'll deal with that later, all the details again. Let's go, so we can do the bottom of the front here. Kind of get an idea what that is. Goes a little lower. Okay. It's kind of where the windowsill is. Actually, this goes all the way up. And then hills in the background. This is the school building. It's a little bell tower. And then there's some kind of painting here. I mean, it doesn't have to be all exact, but I'm kind of looking at where the painting is with respect to the chair.
That's a Bodie picture, right?
It is, and I'm doing this one. Yeah, this time I'm drawing it, and then I'm going to
Watercolor it? I think watercolor.
in the end. So first I'm going to use these. These are like water-soluble pencils with water and pencil brushes. Do the pencil drawing, take a picture of it, print that on watercolor paper, and then color that with watercolors. I have no idea what that's going to look like, but
It's good to experiment.
yes.
What's this piece called?
Lottie's parlor.
What is this chair supposed to be?
This is in the, it's like a, I think it's called a loft seat. Like 2 people can sit on it close to each other. And this is in Lottie and Eli Johl's house in Bodie. It's the only like residential building that I went into. And actually the monitor, the person who took me to all these buildings, he recommended this building. Especially in the morning, it looks really nice when the sun comes up and light rays come in here. Okay, I think the major portions are done now. Maybe some floorboards here. Okay, now we can slowly start adding a little bit more detail. Kind of like to work from left to right, to not smudge the paper, but I do have this piece of paper to put my hand on if I need to. So I took the 4B pencil now. I want to have some nice thick lines here. Okay, let's add some, let's see, let's take, this is 2B. The 8B pencil, holding it a little bit to the side, and add some shading here. Like a larger surface, cover a large surface. A little bit more in the corner. And then we're going to add water to that. Let's take this brush.
Did you already print it?
No, I'm still doing the pencil part. Look how cool this looks. You add water to these pencils.
Might I suggest adding shading around here-ish to show that this is kind of puffing out like a pillow where there's stuffing in it?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Okay.
Look how cool that is. So I want it a little darker still. Let's see. I also have some charcoal here. And let's see if we can add a little bit of texture in here. Then I'll take a dry brush. I know you know what? I'll take some Q-tips and move this around a little. Okay, I have to be a little careful because the paper is starting to get loose here. Don't want to go through the paper. This is the 8B again. Take some water again and go over it. There we go. And then go back in and just add some texture. Okay. There's a lot of stuff going on this window too. Let's do that. Let's try the, this shouldn't be too dark. So I'm taking my, let's see, I thought I had a 2B. Yeah, this is my 2B. This is regular cold press paper for pencil drawings. It's a size A3, International Standard A3. So it's about 16.5 by 11.25 inches. It was an interesting visit. I got here at 6 in the morning. There was snow everywhere. This is all snow here. And by the time I was ready at noon, the snow was all gone. So we had like 2 seasons in one day. Bodie is a state historic park now, and they say that they're keeping Bodie in an arrested state of decay. Actually, there's the shadow of the chairs being cast here on the wall. Later, like I said, I'm going to take a picture of this and print it on watercolor paper, because I'm taking a picture of it, basically scanning it. I can also still do some Photoshop work. So if I want certain regions much darker than they are, I mean, I can only get it so dark with doing pencils. I can make that darker later, but we'll see how it turns out, if I want to do that or not. So yeah, this already looks very watercolory. You may ask yourself, why not do this from scratch with watercolors? And yeah, sure, you could. But there's like 2 reasons I want to do it this way. One is I'd love, since I was little, I have drawn with pencils. Still like to do that. Unfortunately, don't do it as often anymore. And I also like hand coloring my photographs. And this is a nice combination of both. I'm doing the pencil drawing, take a picture of it, and then color it. Like 2 activities that I enjoy. The other one is that when this is ready, you kind of have a template for when you want to do, say, different versions of this in colors. So it's kind of like screen printing. We have a screen now, and we can color it differently or multiple times the same way if you want to. And as I've mentioned this before, it's not just the end result that counts, it also is how you get there to the end result. As maybe it's hard to see, but the paper is really waving here. Maybe if I cold mount this on some kind of backboard, it will prevent that from happening. I mean, I'm not too bothered by it, but that's one thing you could consider doing. Okay, let's get back to the pencil. I'm going to add some of the detail here on the side of the chair. Those little buttons. And this has some color to it on this side. There's a little bit in the shade. So I'll add a light shading to this. And then with the 8B, I make this a lot darker. So like not to hit the darkest areas, because it's gonna mess up my color here. I've done this before when I took pictures of my black and white pencil drawings and then colored them, printed on photo paper or canvas. So I did a turtle once, and I think I have a time lapse too of when I colored it with acrylic. Looks like there's some damage over here. What am I saying? There's damage everywhere. I think it's always fun when I do this and then go over it with, when I do this and then go over it with the brushes and seeing all the blending happen. So that day in Bodie, I visited, as I said, from 6 to noon, and I went into 7 buildings. I picked 4, so I had to pay for a permit, and there was a monitor with me. Normally you cannot go in these buildings. You can look through the windows, but of course it's much cooler to go inside. And so I picked 4 buildings initially, and the monitor actually recommended this one. This was not on my list. And as I was talking to my daughter earlier, he was the one who recommended this building to go in first thing in the morning because the light comes nicely into the building from the sun that rises behind the hills here. Let's see, the other buildings I went into was, well, let's start doing the water thing. So other buildings I went into was, so this was Lottie and Eli Johl's house. And then after this, you may have gone into the general store, which is one of my favorite buildings. The Wheaton and Hollis Hotel. Which is across the street from, I think it's actually this building here. So the general store is a couple of buildings down from this one. The DeChambeau Hotel, which I think is also on the same street, a little more south. The church, which was the only Methodist church in Bodie, and only one of 2 churches. The other one is a Catholic one, I believe. And we also wanted to go into the morgue, but since it had snowed, that we couldn't get in there. There was too much snow in front of the door. The school building, which is this building here. That's what I like about these pencils, is that you can see it now. There's a lot of structure here that's from the paper, but when you go over it with water and brushes, it blends that all together. So I haven't used my charcoal very much. So I'm just using it here and there just to add some texture, make it a little darker where it needs to be. Now that the paper got a little wavy, it actually gives a nice effect where the charcoal is added non-evenly. So I'll take a cotton round, smooth it out a little bit. Kind of like the way it looks here. I'm not gonna mess it up, change this too much here. Just going over it very lightly. Okay, and now that it's finished, I'm going to take a picture of it and print it on watercolor paper. So here's the print on watercolor paper. As you can see, I increased the contrast slightly, so it's a little darker in the corner here and in the back here. Put it slightly smaller. This is a little bit under 11 by 15 inches. And now we're ready to color it with my watercolors. So let's start with the background. I would like to give that a light brown. Let's take burnt umber. Don't want it too dark, but also not too light, of course. This might be too light. Okay, I think that's good. Oh yeah, one note on the printing. I printed this using matte black ink. This doesn't work with when you use photo black ink. Fortunately, my Epson has two types of black, and it's the matte one that you need in order for this to work. Otherwise, the ink dissolves into the water and it gets one big mess. The matte black doesn't run. But of course, that's the nice thing about doing this too, is that you don't have to print this on watercolor paper. You can also have this developed by a lab or printed on photo paper and color it with oils or pastels. I chose watercolor here because I think the combination of the aquarelle graphite pencils with watercolors works nicely. I think they go well together. Doing pretty big surfaces now. This goes pretty fast, but of course you could do more complicated images and use a lot more different colors. But this is kind of the look that I'm going for here. So let's do the blue in the window. I'm going to use cerulean blue. Take a smaller brush. There we go. A little darker on the top than at the bottom. And I could have, let's see, maybe add a little bit of that brown also to the buildings here. And a little bit in the back. There. Now the chair. I think a burnt sienna would be nice for that. Not too much. Let's see if this works. That's pretty subtle. Let's use that for the lighter parts here. Even here. And then I'll add a little bit more paint later. And I think I also want to add some orange here. A little bit more paint. Okay. So let's take some orange. Maybe that might be too much. Let's do it this way. I'll add some water here. Pick up some paint here. Still might be too much. Let's see. Okay, that's very light. Let's see what that turns out. Yeah, that's the right amount. And then I think still I would like to add that here. Okay. And then I'm going to take crimson red, take a very little amount. Okay, that's probably too much again. Add that here. No, that's too much. Let's see if that's better. And then also add that a little bit here to the background. So it's not all and one and the same color, but there's some variation going on here. Okay, a little more. And then maybe the final touch, a slight yellow to this part. That is very subtle indeed. So let's add it also to the wall a little bit here and there. Even in the highlights of the chair. There we go. And that's it. And the piece is finished. So we have pencil drawing that I took a picture of, printed it on watercolor paper, and then colored it with watercolors. Of course, you can print this, as I mentioned earlier, on any other medium too, but this is what I did today. So if you like this video, please hit that like button. If you want to subscribe to my channel, please hit that subscribe button too. And I will see you next time.